And I wanted to start off tonight's premise with a quote that I read this week, just to kind of start off tonight. And it says here, we must be willing to let go of the life we planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. And I know that sometimes in life, this is why we're in this series, things don't always go to plan. The reason why we have a past, the reason why we deal with our past, the reason why we have to walk through the trials of our past is because things don't always go to plan. And so tonight I wanted to break this part into three parts, kind of the three areas I want to tackle. And that is your old pain, your current pain, and your future pain when it comes to dealing with the past. And so I'm going to be reading this interesting story of Jesus. He's doing his things with the disciples, and he has a moment with this guy that was blind. And we're going to pick it up in John 9:1, and we're going to read through it, and then I'm going to elaborate and break down what God was speaking to me about through this text, and I'd love to share it with you tonight. So in John 9:1-12, it says here, as he went along, he saw a man that was blind from birth. And his disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Now, Jesus responds in verse 3, and I'm going to break down what's happening here. But in verse 3, Jesus says, neither this man nor his parents sinned, but this happened so the works of God may be displayed in him. In verse 4, then Jesus starts to tell his disciples, he says to the people that were listening, after saying this in verse 6, it says here, as long as there is day, we must do the works of him who sent me. Night is coming, and no one will be able to work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world. After saying this, Jesus then spat on the ground, made mud with his saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. In verse 7, it says here, then he said, go, he told him, wash in the pool of Siloam, which means sent. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. Amen? In verse 8, it says here, the neighbors, the people that knew him, that formerly seen him begging and asking before, they said, isn't that the same man that used to sit and beg? Some claimed it was, and others said, no, he just looks like him. But the man himself insisted, I am the man. And they said, how, then, did your eyes be opened? They asked. And he replied, the man they called Jesus made mud, put it in my eyes, sent me to Siloam to wash, and I came home seeing. Now, here's the interesting part about leaving the past in the past, is I want to talk about the first thing tonight, and that is your old pain. Everyone is carrying some sort of old pain, and I'm going to break down what I mean by that. And I want to read you chapter 1 and 2 again, and we're going to break into what our old pain is. See, in chapter 1, it says here, and we read it again, as he went along, they saw a man who was blind from birth. And his disciples asked, Rabbi, Jesus, who sinned? What is going on here? Why has this guy got a past? Why is he going through some stuff? What is going on here? Who sinned? His parents or him? And so they're here, and I believe that they're trying to justify why he's blind. They're trying to figure out what went wrong. And I don't think in this text that the disciples are asking a silly question. I don't think they're asking a question that Jesus, is going to blow their mind with the answer. I think they generally wanted to know what happened to him to end up like this. And the reason why I relate to this is because even in my own life, I've questioned when things have gone wrong, what did I do wrong for that to happen? Has anyone else ever felt, sometimes the misunderstanding or the break down the marriage or whatever it was that went on in your life, you think, what did I do to cause this? We talk to people all the time that, have parents that are divorced, and they often say, as the child gets older, they often say, I think that was my fault. I think I had something to do with that. And I know that in my own life, I've emotionally crippled myself at times because I've mentally gone back to my past and tried to figure out what I did wrong. I can't even tell you the amount of times that I've gone back to my past and I've endured by reliving the pain or reliving the scenario and asking myself, where's the shoulda, coulda, wouldas? If I could have changed this or go back in time. I mean, we make jokes about this sometimes when we're in an argument with someone. We get in the shower and we know the good response we could have had. We're in the shower like, I should have said this. But there's this reliving of the past we all go through. There's this going back and saying, what did I do wrong? Is this something I did? And sometimes we even miss our future opportunities because we are stuck in the regrets of our past. And that's just me personally. I don't know about you, but are you with me on this one? That sometimes we think that what happened to us might have been a punishment for something we did. And so I believe the disciples are asking a very logical question. Hey, Jesus, does 1 + 1 = 2? Is that why this man's here? Is that why we all have a past? Is that why some of us have had bad things happen and some of us have had worse things happen? Is that what's going on here? And don't get me wrong, I absolutely believe there's parts of our lives and our past we can control. And I'm not denying that. But there's a lot of stuff in the church, in your world, in your relationship, in your life, a lot of stuff that's happened that you and I had no control over. We just had to walk through it. And a side note, because I know there's some seekers in the room and maybe some people online, I personally don't believe that your past is a punishment from God because of something you did. I don't believe God does that. I don't believe God goes, well, I'm going to favor those in church and punish those that aren't. I don't believe it's a punishment. And we find this in Jesus' response. He says, neither did the man nor the parents sin. But this happened so the works of God may be displayed in him. Now, here's the reality. You and I will never get a fair deal in a broken world. We are never going to get a fair deal in a broken world. What happens in this church is never going to be fair because we're in a broken world. What happens in your lives, your family, your marriage, your kids, whatever it is, it will not always be fair because we live in a broken world. You know, we didn't intend for our parents' marriage to fail. We didn't intend for the miscarriage to happen. We didn't intend for the divorce to go through. We didn't intend to choose our career over our children. We didn't intend for the affair to happen. We didn't intend for the cancer to win. We didn't intend for the betrayal. Some of us didn't intend for the relationship we had with our friends to break down. Some of us didn't intend for the abuse. We didn't intend for the anxiety. We didn't intend for the lies of pain. Yet sometimes we end up in that place. Because leaving the past in the past isn't just about your mistakes, but it's enduring the mistakes of others. And sometimes, if I'm just honest tonight, we live in a world where life is just unpredictable. But here's what I want to draw tonight and what Jesus is doing here. And I hope it encourages someone. That there's a hope for your hurt. That there is something going on from your past. That it isn't just a punishment, like sometimes we think we're punished for what we did, but there's a hope for your hurt. And I'll read it again, and I want you to listen to what's going on. Jesus then states, he says, this might have happened, this has happened, so that the works of God may be displayed in your life. The works of the goodness of our gracious God may be displayed enough here. Someone needs to hear what I'm saying tonight. You might have gone through something, you're currently going through something, or you got a past that's horrendous. Trust me when I say this. When you come to God, God will take what is broken in your life and He will turn it into the great works of His life. It wasn't a punishment. It wasn't poor you. It was God demonstrating that the mud of our past can give us sight for our future. And no matter what happens until this point, right now, whether you are here and you made it here, we're here tonight, or you're online, no matter what happens, when you bring your life to Jesus at its current state, He will somehow turn it into something good. There's hope for your hurt. Sometimes we can't find the answers of why it went wrong, but there is a guarantee that God has a fantastic future for your life. There's a guarantee that wherever you are right now, He'll take you to somewhere higher. There's an absolute guarantee that we might not be able to figure it out, but God's already figured out the future for us. So your old pain is just something that we can't control. Which leads me to our current pain. And see, the thing is with our current pain and our past, and we had a past, and sometimes it creeps up, is our current pain does one thing for us. It's your past allowing you to inherit understanding. It allows you to understand the things that you and I can't read about. I always have been a true believer that the healthiest church is a church with a crazy past. It's full of people with crazy past. It's full of people that have not had the perfect run, but have had a pretty crazy run. Because it's in your past you inherit understanding. I often say I never understood the pain of addiction until I had to face addiction. I often say I never understood to experience a loved one has cancer until a loved one had cancer. Your past brings understanding to your life. I often say I never understood the pain of a child that might have to walk through disability care until the doctors told me that was going to be my reality. Here's the thing. We don't know why the past does what it does, and we don't know why we go through it. But I'm telling you now, your current pain brings you understanding. It creates you to understand the heartache of the people next to you. It gives you this understanding of the heartache for the people we're trying to reach. Somehow God uses our past to help us understand our present. Because quite often, a lot of us that think we don't have a past, then quite often don't understand. I'm almost thankful for the past God gave me, or the past I had to walk through, because it sets me up to have empathy and have a heart for the people out there that don't know God. I'm almost thankful that God's made me walk through some trials that I never really wanted to walk through. But when I got to the other side, I started to understand the pain of those that walk through the trials. See, our current pain sets us up for understanding. I often say that the pain of your past is usually the healing for somebody's present. And I need you to kind of put this in your head tonight, or maybe in your heart. I want you to try demonstrate this or say it to yourself. But I would love for you to say in your mind or your heart, I would never have understood blank if blank didn't happen. Now, you got to have your own story there. You got to have your own pain there. You got to figure. But here's the reality. You got to say to yourself, I would never have understood blank unless blank happened. Chapter 8, Jesus brings us up. The man brings us up. And we read, he says, his neighbors and those who formerly had seen him, formerly knew him, seen him begging, seen him broken. They said, isn't that the same man? Isn't that the same guy? Some claimed it was, and some said they're not sure. Maybe he just looks like him. But the man himself, listen to this, church, the man himself said, nah, I am the man. See, here's the thing about your past. You better let the people around you not forget it, and you better not forget it either. That I am the man. I am the woman. I am the person that God saved. I am the person that God redeemed. I am the person that God gave sight back to. Because without that, we don't have understanding. I am the man that used to do that. I am the person that walked through that. I am the person that suffered through that. I am the person that walked through those tragedies. But I want to remind you tonight that Jesus gave me sight. That Jesus saved me. That Jesus allowed me to see again. I want to let you know that even though we have to live in our current pain, it gives us understanding, but it also lets the people know about that are around you. Yes, I was the guy begging. Yes, I was the guy blind. But Jesus did something in my life that I cannot explain. And so now I'm starting to see my future again. Come on, church. Now I'm starting to see my future again. Now I'm starting to see my purpose again. Now I'm starting to see my potential again. Because before I was known as the beggar. And now I'm known as the beggar that Jesus gave sight to. You got to inherit this in your heart. It's okay that you have a past. It's okay that you walked in here and you might have not had it all together. It's okay that things have gone wrong in your life, because two things happen. It brings you understanding and it brings you a testimony that people will say, hey, is that the same guy? And you'll go, yeah, it's the same guy. I'm the same woman. I'm the same one that you used to know, but now I have a future. Now I have a purpose. Now I see my potential. Come on, somebody that knows that Jesus took the mud of their past and turned it into sight for their future. He did it with my life. I believe he can do it for Paul McCrory's life. I believe he can do it for your life. He will take the mud of your past and he'll bring it to sight for your future. Don't let him forget it. And don't you forget it yourself. I now see and I now have understanding. Because Jesus took what was intended to harm me, to build me, make me stronger, and be able to help others that are in need. And I want to encourage you tonight. Let go of the past, but keep the lessons it has taught you. I use memories, but I will not allow memories to use me. You can remember where you came from. You can remember what you've been through. It's not like we have to just block out the past and leave the past in the past. There is memories. There is things we have to navigate. But here's the reality. When we have those memories and not let those memories have us, we are like, hey, yeah, you're right. I am the guy that used to do that. I am the beggar. I was the guy that was blind. But now I see. And so, which leads me on to my third point tonight. Your future pain. See, your past pain or your old pain is just something that doesn't mean you were punished. Doesn't mean God had favorites and some of you deserved and some of you didn't. Life is just unpredictable. It leaves us in a state of walking through pain. But then our current pain shows us what that did for our lives. It shows us to understand the people around us, and it shows us that He's a good and gracious God. But our future pain is a bit different. Because there's a journey between the moment and the miracle. And the reality is, no matter how through the process we are, our past will at one stage of our lives creep back into our forefront. There is always going to be a moment between the moment God touched your life, or the moment He went to transform you, or the moment you gave your life to Him, and the miracle of what He's trying to do. And even for my life, it happens to the best of us. I sometimes, even when I'm looking at how to run this church, how to lead this church, and sometimes my past creeps up in front of me and says, you can't do that. You can't achieve that. If they knew where you came from, you wouldn't be able to do that. And my past, and I'm not saying that we all have to be perfect. I'm saying that even on my daily life, this comes back to haunt me, my future pain. It reminds me that there's a process. It reminds me that even though I found Jesus in the moment, there's a journey to the miracle. And so in chapter 7, we read, Jesus says, go, He told him. Go and wash in the pool of Siloam. This word means sent. So the man went and washed, and the Bible says he came home seeing. And I want you to always remember, come on church, I want you to always remember that no matter what happens in your life, you were sent. That Jesus sent you. Because there's a journey between the moment and the miracle. And here's the reality. Jesus didn't say, here's the mud, you're healed, off you go. He said, you must go to the place called sent and wash your eyes. And it was in that moment he came home seeing. The past isn't just whether we block it out. It's whether we walk through what's going on. And there's always a journey between the moment and the miracle. And I want to remind you tonight, I'm reminding myself, that when the past pains creep back in, and when the addiction is still holding you down, and when the mental battle's still going on in your head, and when the anxiety kicks in again, and when someone reminds you of the pain that you caused, or when you're having a good day and then that one bad day comes up, or when someone reminds you of what you did or where you came from and they hold you to where you were, I want you to say, but nah, I've been sent. Every time your past, every time your present starts to creep into your mind and starts to pull you back into your past, I want you to say to yourself in the mirror, daily, monthly, weekly, yearly, say, no. I've been sent. You know how powerful those three words are? Because Jesus in the moment put mud on him, but there was a journey for the miracle as he went to the place called sent. When you lose sight of the promise on your life, when you lose sight of the future God has for you, when you lose sight where you think that you don't matter and no one cares about you, when you lose sight and you can't overcome this current state, when you lose sight of the greater purpose, I want you to say to yourself or shout to yourself, I've been sent. Jesus sent me. Jesus told me where to go. And no matter what happens in my life, and no matter what people say, no matter what my past looks like, I've been sent. Because I'll remind you again, this is the realism of our church. There's always going to be a journey between the moment and the miracle. You might be coming to church looking for the miracle. You might tonight only have a moment. And then there's a process that starts for you to go to the place where God said, I'm now sending you. I've now sent you. When you lose sight of who you truly are because of the past, I want you to remind yourself in the present, but I've been sent. You were healed by Jesus, but he also told you to wash before you went home. And I don't think the Bible is kind of mistakenly chucked in the meaning of asylum in there, that the place was called sent. As the band comes, when the past knocks you down again, you tell yourself, I've been sent. I can feel it in the room. I feel that people don't believe it. Jesus is going to take the mud of your past and bring it to sight for your future. And there'll be times where you want to go back to the mud. There'll be times where you want to go back to the blindness. There'll be times where you say, this is too hard. There'll be times where you say, the past has crippled me so much, I don't know if I can see my future. And I'm telling you as your pastor tonight, it doesn't matter what anyone says, doesn't matter what's been said, doesn't matter what your past looks like. You stand before God and you say, yeah, but Jesus said to me, go, you have been sent. When those photos and those memories and that music or that location remind you of the pain, you repeat to yourself, I've been sent. When you feel like you're not good enough and you feel like no one's noticed you and you feel like you're slipping away from whatever's happening in this world, you say to yourself, nah, but I've been sent. When people criticize you or judge you for your past, you stand before God and you say, but that's all good because I've been sent. When you can't see the future, come on, you tell yourself. I know there's some people right now that think there's no future for them. I know it. I spend time with people in this world, and they always say to me, I don't know if I have a future. I don't know if I have a future for my family. I don't know if I have a future in my life. I don't have a future in the church. I don't know if I have a future. And the world looks like that at the moment. And then I say to them, do you know Jesus? And they say, yeah, I believe in God. And now my response is going to be, well, then guess what? You've been sent. He healed you so he could send you. When you lose hope for your own family, your own spouse, your own journey, I want you to get up in the morning and say, but nah, I've been sent. I'm preaching to myself tonight. I'm going to wake up, and when the doubts of my past and when the pain of my past creeps in, I'm going to push it back. And I'm going to go before God and I go, I've been sent. I've been sent. You will not realize the power in those three words until you get to that crossroad. When you think it's all over, I want you to say, but nah, I've been sent. Because here's the reality. No matter how good we are, No matter how awesome we are in church and whatever happens, none of us, including myself, are exempt from our past creeping back in. It will knock on your door. It's like an addiction. It's like a constant waving through life to try to put back the old so we can inherit the new. And God's going to be with you on this journey, but it doesn't mean you just, we did a series at Heart House, leave the past in the past and everything was fine. No. The past is going to creep back. It does. We're not going to pretend it doesn't. And that's why this is so important. Because when it does creep up, and when it does knock on the door, and when your insecurities do bite you, because God's calling you to something greater, God's got a future for you, God's got something for your life that you couldn't even imagine, when that's waiting for you, you have to say to what's coming for you, but I've been sent. So I don't go back to this and I don't pick it back up, but I go to the place where God told me to wash my eyes. I go to the place where God told me to go see again, and I come home seeing in Jesus' name. You've been sent. You know Jesus. You know He's going to heal you. You know He's doing something in your life. Then remind yourself that you've been sent. Oh. This is so much more powerful to my own heart than I could imagine. Like this week, I was just like trying to figure it out for our church. And I just hear the whisper of God just saying, you have been sent. And so all my insecurities in my past, I'm just kind of like, that's cool. I've been sent. And that's a word for all of us in here. You've got old pain. And that doesn't mean you're punished or God hates you. It means that there's a moment where He's going to show the wonders in your life. The second thing is your current pain. The only reason why I understand half the problems in this church is because half the problems I've had to walk through. And I've got my rest of my life to inherit the other problems that God's going to put in my path. So I can understand what it means to be like that. But the third one is I'll never forget that I've been sent. And so have you. Jesus didn't just wash your eyes. He also told you to go wash them to the place called sent. And then you went home seeing. Amen. Come on, church, let's worship.